The city of Erilus slept under two pale moons. Cold blue light washed over tall metal towers and silent sky bridges. The air was thin, sharp, and dangerous for most species. But the female walking alone through the shadows did not slow down. Her name was Sailra, though many once called her Rapunzel because of her long silver-gold hair. The hair flowed behind her like light trapped in silk. On her world, long hair was rare. On battlefields, it was a weakness. But Sailra never cut it. Not after him. She pulled her cloak tighter as a cold wind moved through the street. Her hands trembled, not from the cold, but from fear. She had crossed half the galaxy to come here. A place ruled by the one species everyone feared. Humans. Most of the galaxy, humans were monsters. They were called Space Orcs, strong, loud, impossible to stop in war. Sailra had heard the stories since she was a child. Humans who fought even when wounded. Humans who smiled in battle. Humans who refused to surrender. She should have hated them, but she did not, because one human had once saved her life. She stopped in front of a tall building made of black steel. A symbol glowed above the door, the mark of the Human Defense Command. Her heart beat faster. This was it, the end of her journey, or the beginning of something far more dangerous. Years ago, during the Outer Rim War, Sailra had been a young scout. Her unit was destroyed in an ambush, ships burned. Screams filled the void. She remembered drifting through space, her armor broken, her breath fading. She had expected death. Instead, a human ship found her. She remembered waking up in a white room, lights too bright, pain everywhere, panic in her chest. When she tried to fight, weak hands held her down. Easy, a deep voice had said. You're safe. Safe, that word had made no sense. Humans did not save aliens. Humans killed enemies, but he did not. He stayed near her bed. He brought her water. He adjusted the heat when she shivered. When she cried in fear, he sat silently until she calmed down. He never removed his weapon, but he never raised it either. She learned his name from the badge on his chest. Chris Johnson. When her people came to retrieve her, she did not want to leave. She remembered grabbing his arm with shaking fingers, saying words she barely understood herself. Why? She had asked him. Why save me? The human had looked surprised, then tired, then gentle. Because you were cold, he said, and scared. That's reason enough. That moment burned into her mind. Now, years later, Sailra stood in the city where that human lived. The galaxy had changed. Wars had grown worse. Humans had grown stronger. Her own people had voted to prepare for another conflict against Earth. Sailra had said no. They called her weak, a traitor. Dream-filled and foolish. So she left. She entered the building. Human guards turned toward her at once. Weapons lifted. Alarms did not sound, but tension filled the air like a blade against skin. She raised her empty hands slowly. I seek one human, she said in clear, careful common speech. I come in peace. The guards watched her closely. One spoke into a device. Another studied her long hair, her calm posture, her fear she tried hard to hide. Name? A guard asked. She swallowed. Her throat felt dry. Chris Johnson. The room went very still. The guards exchanged looks. One of them frowned. That name hasn't been spoken here in years, he said slowly. Her heart sank. Is he? Her voice almost failed. Is he alive? The guard did not answer at once. He turned and walked away. Minutes passed like hours. Sailra stood without moving, forcing herself to breathe. Finally the guard returned. He's alive, he said. And he's coming. Sailra's legs felt weak. Relief and fear crashed together inside her chest. She lowered herself slightly. A sign of respect from her people. Humans rarely bowed. But she would. Footsteps echoed down the hall, heavy, confident, familiar in a way that hurt. Then she saw him, taller, scarred, older. His hair was shorter now, his eyes harder. A human shaped by war. But it was him. Chris Johnson stopped when he saw her. His hand moved near his side, then froze. His eyes narrowed, searching her face. Recognition flashed across his expression. "You," he said quietly. Sarah felt tears gather in her eyes. She did not stop them. "Yes," she replied softly. "It is me." The human she never forgot stood before her again, and the galaxy would never be the same. The room was silent. Chris Johnson stood a few steps away, his eyes locked on the alien female in front of him. Years of battle had trained him to read danger in a heartbeat. Every instinct told him to stay alert. Aliens did not come to human command centers by accident. Sarah slowly lifted her head. Her long silver gold hair slipped forward, catching the light. She could feel every eye in the room on her. Human soldiers, human weapons, human fear. To them, she was the unknown. To her, they were legends of terror around the galaxy. Humans were whispered about in dark corners. Children were warned to behave or the humans would come. Stories spoke of humans fighting without rest, without mercy. Of humans who laughed while bleeding. Of humans who broke worlds when pushed too far. Sarah had grown up hearing those stories. And yet, the man standing before her was the same one who had once covered her with his jacket when she was freezing. Chris broke the silence. "Why are you here?" he asked. His voice was calm, but firm. The voice of someone used to command. Sarah swallowed. She had practiced this moment many times in her mind. But now that it was real, words felt heavy. "I came because I remembered," she said. "And because I could not forget." Chris frowned slightly. "That was a long time ago." "Yes," she replied. "For you, maybe." The guards shifted uneasily. One of them whispered, "Sir, she could be a spy." Chris raised a hand, and the room went still again. Sarah felt her chest tighten. This was the moment the galaxy had warned her about. This was where humans turned violent, where mercy ended. Her mind drifted back to the war, she remembered. The pain, the cold, the fear that ate at her thoughts as she drifted alone in space. She had expected a human to end her life quickly. Instead, she remembered waking up to warmth. She remembered Chris arguing with another human, his voice sharp. "She's not a threat," he had said back then. "She's injured." "But she's the enemy," another voice replied. "So was I," Chris had answered, "before I was rescued once." That memory made her hands shake now. Chris studied her face. He could see fear there, real fear. Not the kind spies used. The kind that came from old scars. "You crossed human space to find me," he said slowly. "That takes courage, or desperation." "Both," Sarah admitted. Chris looked away for a moment. The past pressed in on him too. He remembered. The alien girl with glowing eyes who refused to sleep unless the lights were dimmed. The way she flinched at loud sounds. The way she had trusted him anyway. "You were just a kid," he said quietly. Sarah nodded. "And you were the monster they warned me about." Some guards stiffened at that word, but she continued quickly, "You were not a monster." Chris looked back at her sharply. The room seemed to hold its breath. "You saved me," she said. "You protected me when you had no reason to. My people told me humans only care for themselves. But you proved them wrong." Silence followed. Chris exhaled slowly. "You shouldn't be here," he said. "Things are tense. Your people and mine aren't exactly friends." "I know," Sarah said. Her voice grew stronger. "That is why I came alone." That surprised him. "Alone?" "Yes. If I brought others, they would have stopped me, or killed me." Chris's eyes hardened. "Your people would kill you for coming here?" They already cast me out, she said softly. I refuse to support war against humans. That caused a stir among the soldiers. Chris stepped closer. Not threatening. Careful. You know what happens if this gets out, he said. Both sides will react. I am ready, Sailora answered. I was ready the moment you gave me. Your jacket, Chris blinked. You still remember that? She nodded. On my world, sharing warmth is a bond. I never returned it. For the first time, Chris looked truly unsettled. Before he could respond, alarms suddenly began to hum softly. Not an attack alarm. A warning. A soldier spoke quickly into a communicator. Sir, we're picking up fleet movement near the border. Chris cursed under his breath. Sailora felt the tension spike. She recognized that feeling. The edge before violence. This is why I came now, she said urgently. Because war is coming again. And this time, it will destroy everything. Chris looked at her. At the alien the galaxy feared. At the memory of kindness he had almost forgotten. And what do you want from me? He asked. Sailora straightened. Her fear was still there, but her resolve burned brighter. I want to stand with you, she said. Before the galaxy decides, we must stand against each other. The monster the galaxy warned her about said nothing, but he did not turn away. And that alone changed everything. The meeting room was sealed. Thick steel doors locked into place, cutting off the noise of the station. Only a soft hum remained. Chris Johnson stood near the table, arms crossed, while Sailora waited on the opposite side. No guards. No weapons. Drawn. Just two survivors from opposite sides of an old war. For Sailora, the silence was heavier than shouting. This was the moment she feared most. Chris finally spoke. If anyone finds out you're here, this turns political fast. I understand, Sailora replied. Her voice was calm, but her hands were clasped tightly in front of her. That is why I asked to speak alone. Chris studied her again. Without soldiers watching, she looked smaller, not weak, just tired. Tired in a way only people who had survived too much could. You could have sent a message, he said. You didn't have to come yourself. I had to, she answered. Words would not be enough. She stepped closer to the table, then stopped. Respect. Distance. She remembered everything. About humans now. Slowly, carefully, Sailora lowered herself to one knee. Chris stiffened at once. Hey, don't do that. But she stayed where she was, head lowered, long hair falling like light around her. On my world, she said, this position is only taken before one who holds your life in their hands. Chris exhaled sharply. I didn't ask for that. No, she said softly, but you earned it. That hit harder than any insult. Chris turned away, rubbing his face. He had faced war councils, enemy fleets, impossible choices. This felt worse. Stand up, he said. After a moment, she did. Sailora looked at him, truly looked at him. The kindness she remembered was still there, buried under scars and responsibility. Humans changed fast. War did that. You saved me, she said. But you also changed me. Chris raised an eyebrow. How? Before you, I believed strength was domination, she said. Victory. Survival at any cost. That is what my people taught me. She paused, choosing her words carefully. But you were strong, without cruelty. Chris looked at her sharply. You could have used me, she continued, as leverage, as proof, as a weapon. But you treated me like a person. He remembered that time. How angry some of his crew had been. How close he had come to being court-martialed. That choice cost me, he admitted quietly. Sailora nodded. And that is why it mattered. She reached into a small pouch at her side and slowly removed a thin crystal band. It glowed faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. Chris tensed, then relaxed when he saw no threat. What is that? He asked. A bond token, she replied. On my world, it is only given once. Chris stared at it. You're saying you came all this way to give me a gift? No, Sailra said. I came to return a debt. She placed the crystal on the table between them. I was broken, she said. Afraid. Alone, you gave me warmth, safety. Time to heal. Her voice trembled, but she did not stop. I tried to forget you. I tried to live as if that moment meant nothing. But every time my people spoke of humans as monsters, I remembered your hands shaking as you tried not to hurt me. Chris swallowed. That's not how I remember it, he said. I remember being scared you'd wake up and kill me. For the first time, Sailra smiled. A small, real smile. You were afraid, she said, and you chose kindness anyway. That broke something inside him. Before he could respond, the room lights flickered. A warning tone sounded once, sharp and brief. Chris tapped his wrist display. His expression hardened. Border fleets just went to full alert, he said. Your people included. Sailra felt the weight of the future crash down on her. Then I am too late, she whispered. Chris looked at her. Really looked. No, he said. You're early, she blinked. What? War hasn't started yet, he continued. That means choices still matter, Sailra straightened. Hope flared painfully in her chest. I came to ask for something dangerous, she said. Chris nodded. I figured. She met his eyes, steady now. I asked to stand beside humanity, she said. Not as an enemy. Not as a weapon. She took a slow breath. But as proof that the past does not have to decide the future. The past spoke loudly in that room. But for the first time, fear did not have the final word. The council chamber was not built for trust. Cold metal walls curved high above, covered in symbols of power and warning. Human leaders filled one side of the room. Holographic figures of alien representatives shimmered on the other. At the center stood Sailra, alone. Her long glowing hair unbound. Chris Johnson remained a few steps behind her. That alone was a statement. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some humans stared in disbelief. Some aliens hissed in anger. Cameras recorded everything. The entire galaxy would see this moment. A human counselor spoke first. State your purpose. Sailra lifted her head. Her voice was calm, but strong. I request a bond. The word struck the room like a weapon. Gasps, shouts, angry signals flared among the alien delegates. Chris turned sharply toward her. Sail, Ray. She raised a hand slightly. Please, let me finish. The alien representative from her home world appeared larger, his image flickering with rage. You disgrace us, he snapped. A bond with a human is forbidden. Sailra did not look away. So was peace, she replied, until someone tried. The council chamber erupted. Humans are predators, one delegate shouted. They only bond to dominate. Cried another. Sailra clenched her fists. She had expected this. Feared it. Prepared for it. Chris stepped forward now. She's not a prisoner, he said firmly. And she's not property. She speaks here by choice. That silence was sudden and heavy. A human counselor leaned forward. Commander Johnson, do you understand what accepting a bond would mean? Yes, Chris answered. It would mean responsibility. Sailra turned toward him, surprise flickering across her face. On her world, a bond was not romance. It was deeper, shared protection, shared fate. If one fell, the other answered. I did not come to trap you, she said. Quickly. If you refuse, I will leave. I will accept exile. Chris met her eyes. You came here knowing you might die, he said. That already binds us more than paper ever could. Anger exploded among the alien delegates. This is manipulation. She uses emotion as a weapon. Sailra took a slow breath and did the unthinkable. She removed her cloak. Scars lined her arms. Burn marks, Old fractures. Proof of wars survived. Proof of pain. These are not human wounds, she said. These are the gifts of my own people. The room fell silent. I was punished for refusing to fight humans, she continued. I was told humans feel nothing, that they cannot love, that they destroy everything they touch. She turned to face the chamber fully, but the only hands that ever protected me were human. Chris felt his chest tighten. The alien leader's image flickered violently. If you complete this bond, you will never return home. Selra nodded once. I know. A human counselor spoke softly. Commander, if you accept, every enemy of humanity will watch you. Chris didn't hesitate. Let them, he said. Humanity doesn't hide from choices. Selra's breath caught. Chris stepped forward and placed his hand over the glowing bond. Crystal on the table. I accept the bond, he said. The chamber erupted into chaos. Alerts screamed. Holograms shattered. Outside the station, unknown. Fleets dropped out of hyperspace. Selra felt the bond crystal warm. Beneath his hand, the galaxy had forbidden this union, and now the galaxy would answer it with fire. The first explosion did not come from outside, it came from within. A human supply ship, cleared minutes earlier, tore itself apart in a silent flash of light. The blast lit the stars and sent debris spinning toward the station like shrapnel. Every screen in the command center turned red. Incoming hostiles. Multiple jump signatures. Shields to maximum. Chris Johnson moved instantly. Fear vanished. The man Selra remembered was gone, replaced by something the galaxy truly feared. A human in war. Seal the inner ring, Chris ordered. Protect civilians first. Selra felt the station tremble under her feet. She looked at the humans around her. No screaming. No panic. They moved with calm speed. Voices sharp and clear. They were not monsters. They were prepared. Outside the viewport, alien warships dropped from hyperspace, sleek, silent, deadly. Flags of several species burned across their hulls. Not one, not two, a coalition. They came fast, Selra whispered. They planned this. Chris nodded. They always do. The bond crystal at her side pulsed softly, warm, alive. She felt it pull toward him, like a silent promise. A council officer turned toward Chris. Sir, alien forces demand the surrender of the bonded individual. Chris didn't even look at the screen. Denied. Selra's chest tightened. They will not stop. Good, Chris said. Neither will we. The first wave hit the station. Shields. Energy fire slammed against human defenses. The shields bent, but did not fail. Human fighters launched in tight formations, not rushing, not screaming, precise. Selra watched in awe. On her world, battles were loud chaos. Warriors charged for honor, for pride. Humans fought for each other. A transport carrying civilians lost power and drifted toward enemy fire. I can help, Selra said suddenly. Chris turned. You're not trained for human combat. I am trained for survival, she replied. He hesitated for only a second. Stay on my flank, he said. Do not move unless I tell you. That trust hit harder than fear. They moved through smoke-filled corridors as boarding alarms screamed. Enemy soldiers breached the outer ring. Tall, armored, brutal. Selra's instinct screamed to flee. Instead, she stayed. A blast door failed. An enemy warrior charged. Weapon raised. Chris stepped in front of her without thinking. The shot hit his armor, throwing him back hard. Chris! Selra cried. He rolled, groaning, but stood again. I've had worse, he said. That lie was human too. Selra reacted before fear could stop her. She grabbed a fallen weapon and fired. The enemy fell. She stared at her shaking hands. I hit him. Chris gave her a short nod. You protected your bond. More enemies came. Humans formed a line. shoulder to shoulder, bleeding, standing. Sailra fought beside them now. Not for orders, not for honor, for choice. For the first time, alien civilians watched humans take blows meant for others, saw them drag the wounded to safety, saw them refuse to abandon anyone. Broadcast feeds carried the battle across the galaxy. Worlds watching in fear saw something new, humans shielding the weak. The final enemy ship tried to flee. Chris opened the channel. "You started this," he said calmly. "We will finish it." Human ship surged forward, not in rage, but resolve. Minutes later, silence returned to space. The station still stood. Sailra looked at Chris, bloodied but unbroken. "They will fear you more now," she said softly. Chris shook his head. "No, now they'll understand us." The bond crystal glowed brighter between them. Humanity had been tested, and it had refused to break. The battle was over, but the galaxy was still watching. Broken ships drifted in silence around the station. Rescue teams moved through debris fields, pulling survivors from the wreckage. Cameras from dozens of worlds remained locked on the human stronghold. Sailra stood beside Chris on the observation deck. The stars looked calm again, but her heart was not. "What happens now?" she asked quietly. Chris did not answer at once. He was watching human crews work. No cheers, no pride, just duty. "Now," he said finally, "we choose what this victory means." The bond crystal pulsed softly between them, warm against Sailra's skin. She could feel the pull of it stronger than before. Not force, connection. A message alert echoed through the deck. "Commander Johnson," a voice announced. "The Galactic Assembly demands a live address. All member worlds are connected." Sailra's breath caught. "They will judge us." "They already are," Chris replied. The chamber lights shifted. A massive hologram filled the space, showing hundreds of alien leaders. Some looked afraid, others furious, many simply confused. A familiar voice cut through the noise, Sailra's former high speaker. "You have crossed a line, human," he said. "By accepting the bond, you invited war." Chris stepped forward. "No," he said calmly. "You brought war when you attacked civilians." The words were simple, honest. Human. The high speaker's eyes narrowed. "Release her. End the bond. And we may yet avoid destruction." Sailra felt the weight of that offer crush her chest. Exile had been painful. This would be worse. She took a step forward. "I will speak," she said. Murmurs rose. "You gave no such right," the high speaker began. "I gave it to myself." Sailra said firmly. She faced the galaxy. "I was taught humans were monsters," she said. "That they could not care. That they only destroy." She raised her arm, showing fresh burns and old scars. "These are not human marks," she continued. "They are the cost of refusing hatred." The chamber grew quiet. "I crossed human space alone," she said. "Not because I was brave, but because I believed one human showed me the truth." She turned slightly toward Chris. "He did not save me because it was easy," she said. "He saved me because it was right." Silence followed, heavy. Listening. Chris spoke again. "This bond does not threaten the galaxy," he said. "It challenges it." He met the gaze of the alien leaders. "Humanity will defend itself," he said. "But we will not destroy hope just to prove strength." The high speaker hesitated. For the first time, uncertainty cracked his voice. "You would risk everything for one alien?" Chris answered without pause. "Yes." Sailra felt tears fall freely now. Across the galaxy, feeds replayed images of humans shielding civilians, of soldiers carrying wounded aliens, of a human standing beside someone he was taught to hate. One by one, alien channels fell silent. Then a new signal appeared. A neutral world. Then another dot and another dot. Support did not come as cheers. It came as permission. A vote began. Sayra held her breath. The final result flashed across the hologram. Hostilities suspended. Bond recognized. She gasped. Chris closed his eyes for a moment. Relief he did not allow himself to feel washed over him. The high speaker's image faded without another word. The galaxy had been shaken. Not by weapons. But by a choice. And for the first time in a long time, the stars felt a little less cold. Years later, the stars were quieter, not peaceful. The galaxy had not changed that much. But the sound of constant war had faded into something softer. Careful talks, shared borders, slow trust. Sayra stood on a high balcony overlooking a new station. Not human. Not alien. Shared. Ships from many worlds docked side by side. Different shapes, different lights. No weapons powered. That alone would have been unthinkable once. Her hair was braided now, woven with thin threads of human steel. A symbol of a bond no longer hidden, no longer feared. Chris stood beside her, older again. A few more lines on his face, fewer on his shoulders. Never thought I'd see this, he said. Sayra smiled softly. Neither did I. My people believed humans only build walls. Chris shrugged. We build bridges too. Sometimes we just forget. Below them, human children ran past alien merchants. Laughter echoed in many languages. No one reached for a weapon. The bond crystal rested at Sayra's throat. It no longer pulsed with urgency. It simply was. A reporter's drone hovered nearby, waiting for permission. Last question, the reporter said. Commander Johnson, what would you say to those who still fear humanity? Chris thought for a moment. We earned that fear, he said honestly. But fear isn't the whole story. Sayra stepped forward. They call humans monsters, she said. Because monsters survive anything. She looked out at the station. But monsters do not protect strangers, she continued. They do not bleed for those they are told to hate. She turned back to the drone. Humans are not monsters, she said. They are something harder. The reporter tilted slightly. And that is? Sayra reached for Chris's hand. He took it without thinking. They are choice, she said. The drone powered down. Later, when the station lights dimmed, Sayra rested her head against Chris's shoulder. Do you regret it? She asked. The bond, the war, the cost. Chris looked at the stars. No, he said. Because when it mattered most, we chose who we wanted to be. Sayra closed her eyes. Far across the galaxy, the old stories were changing. Children no longer whispered only fear when they spoke of humans. They spoke of strength, of kindness, of the monsters who taught the stars how to hope. And humanity? Humanity stood tall, not because it was feared, but because it refused to be anything less than human.